Hi there, my name is Paulie and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to install a true bypass switch and an indicator LED into a Vox V847A. So let's have a look inside. Now I've already installed the LED. Basically you find the centre and you centre punch it, then you drill a hole that is smaller than the hole required for the LED, then you drill a hole that is the appropriate size for the LED, press the LED in and place a small amount of glue around it. So first up, let's quickly discuss why you would want to put a true bypass switch into a pedal of this kind. Well, the primary reason is this green wire here. This green wire runs from our input jack to the circuit board, and when we engage and disengage the effect via this switch, it actually only switches the output between the input and the output from the circuit board. So in effect, the input to the board is always connected to our signal chain, and it loads up the signal from the guitar and effectively rolls off some of the top end. So what we need to do is make it so as it switches the input and the output to the board so that the board becomes completely isolated. And also I like to actually ground the output or short out the output from the board when it's not in use. This tends to stop that popping that you get when you engage and disengage the switch. So the very first thing you should do before you start is remove any power. So disconnect your battery. Obviously you'll have it unplugged from your power supply. And then we want to remove the wires from our switch. This one being the input wire. And then the output wire. And then the output from the board, which actually runs to the pot. Okay. The very next thing you want to do is grab yourself a 9/16 or 14mm open end spanner or wrench, and we'll undo the nut on the switch. So next you're going to need one of these double pole triple throw switches. I got this one from my local electronics components store, but you can just as easily get them from eBay for a few dollars. So the next thing we need to do is compare the shaft of the switches together, the old switch and the new switch, because we want the new switch to kick in the same place as the old switch so that the thing behaves itself and is easy to switch in, or as easy to switch in as what the old switch was. Now it appears, looking at this, because this one had the nut on the bottom there, that the new switch won't require a nut to space it up at all. So we'll run it like this with no nut on the bottom to space it off. So next we install the new switch, and I'm going to install it this way. I don't know whether you can really see that, but the switches actually switch from the middle up or from the middle down, and our 3 poles run this way. So we'll drop the switch in, I'll turn it over. This one comes with a white plastic washer, which I will use, and we'll do the nut up. Get our spanner. And pull him up nice and tight. Okay, so we're looking at the rear of the pedal again with our new switch installed, and what we need to do is connect our output and inputs to the middle tab on the switch on either side. And the first thing we need to do that is actually tin up the tabs on the switch. So that it's easy for us to make a connection. So it's our brown wire and our white wire. There we go. So the very next thing I'm going to do is connect this blue wire here, which is the output from our circuit board, to this corner tab here. The reason why I've chosen this particular tab instead of the counterpart on the other side is it's to do with the LED, so that when all the poles switch over to this side, I'm going to switch the LED on via ground, and I'm going to connect ground to the middle tab, and so that it just makes more sense to have this guy down here so that when it connects we can turn the LED on as well. So let's tin that up and connect that wire. Okay, I'll be able to trim that a little later and tidy it up. The next thing we need to do is remove this green wire here, which is our input to the circuit board, and we'll need to extend that wire and run it up here and actually connect it to this corner tab here. So let's get to it. So to extend that wire, I've got another little piece of green wire here, and we'll twitch the two together. Like so, and place some solder on it. So that it's a good connection and a permanent connection. Just trim off the excess, and I'll put some heat shrink over it. Now for the heat shrink, I found that a hairdryer does a good job, or a cigarette lighter, but a hairdryer is just as good. next we need to run this little wire up around to this corner here. So we need to work out how long we want it, and then we'll trim it off and strip it back. Tin up, and we'll tin up each surface that we're going to join. And I'll just peel this tape back. So that we can put our new wire underneath it to secure it back out of the way. So the very next thing I'm going to do is run a ground wire to this middle tag here on the double pole triple throw switch, and I'm going to run it from the output just here. This is the actual ground on the output jack, and we'll run the wire around here. It's going to serve two purposes, because I intend to short out the output from the board when the effect isn't engaged, and this is going to hopefully alleviate some of those pops that are renowned to occur with true bypass switching. Also, I'm going to use it to actually turn the LED on and off. I'm going to switch the ground, and that will allow us to turn the LED on when the effect is engaged, and it'll turn off when the effect is disengaged. So first up, we'll tin that center tag on the switch, and we'll prime this tag over here on the output jack up to have the wire connected to it. Okay, we've got the wire on there. Now we'll just weave it through our existing wiring, just so that it doesn't get tangled up in everything during operation, and we've just got to connect it to there. Okay, that's there. So the very next thing I'll do is tin up this middle contact over here, and I've tinned up a very small piece of wire. And I'm going to attach it to the output from our effect. And what this is going to do when the switch is disengaged, or the effector's disengaged, the output will be grounded, and this will keep it quiet, so that hopefully when the switch changes state you won't hear a pop or a sound or anything like that from it. So now you're looking at the switch and everything looks completed. Well, what's actually happened is I got to the testing phase and I realised I left a jumper off the switch. Now I'm going to put this actually in the video where it should be as far as the sequence of things are concerned. And what you need to do is jump a wire from this point here to this point here, and this will allow our true bypass signal to travel through past the effect when it's not engaged. So I've already tinned up the terminals and the wire, and we'll connect it up. There we go. Okay. The next thing we need to do is take the negative leg from our LED to this middle pin here. The negative one will be the shorter of the two. We'll just put a little bend in him, and we'll push him through the hole like so. So if you're only interested in the true bypass portion of the video, obviously you don't need to worry about the beginnings of wiring up the LED. But if you want the LED as well, we're going to need a positive power connection for our LED. And the spot we need to get to is actually underneath this jack. So we need to undo the 3 screws. And lift up the circuit board. And the spot we need to get to is right here. So I already have my wire tinned and ready to go, and I will just add a little bit of extra solder to the spot that we need to go to. Now just be careful with printed circuit boards. You don't want to apply too much heat because you may lift the track and damage the board. So just be aware of that. And that should have it. So we can lay the board back down and put the screws back in. And when you put the screws back in, just initially put each one in loose. Because if you tighten the first one up, you may find that the holes will not line up properly and you'll have trouble getting the following in. So now that we've got them all in, we can tighten them all up. Okay, so I've roughed out our wire to length, so when I run it down there, there's a little bit of slack. The next thing we need to do is hook up a resistor to this wire to actually divide the voltage between the LED and the resistor, so that we're not running that LED on 9 volts, because they don't really run on 9 volts very well. So we're going to try and run it on a few volts, and somewhere between 5 and 600 ohms. Should be okay for that. So I've got a 510 ohm resistor here, and I'm going to hook it up there and put some heat shrink over it. So I've stripped and tinned the end of the wire, and we'll grab our LED and we'll just start where the tinned or stripped section starts, and we'll twist the leg of the LED around our wire and solder that on. Then we'll trim it. So now that we've got the resistor on there, we'll weave this through our existing wiring like so, and we'll push our piece of heat shrink over. I've also trimmed the other leg of the resistor down and the leg of the LED, and you just want to push that heat shrink out of the way. Okay, we'll tin up the leg of the resistor, and we'll tin up the leg of the LED. Then we need to bring the two together. As I said, this would probably be easier if the LED was out. But providing that we give a good amount of surface area for the connection to be established, it should be okay. Now we've got to get our heat shrink over. The whole thing all the way down to the bottom of the LED's leg, so that the two legs can't touch one another. And then we get out our hairdryer. So I've got the hairdryer again. You want plenty of heat. I normally put my hand partially over the back. Okay. Yeah, partially placing your hand over the back of the hairdryer makes it a little bit hotter, but you've got to be careful. You can trip out the circuit breaker, the thermal circuit breaker that's in there. And that should have it. So the very last thing I want to do before I go ahead and do some testing is put a cable tie around this portion here just to hold that leg of the LED steady so that it doesn't fatigue and break off. And we'll just pull everything together. There we go. A better set of cutters would be nice. So that should hold that steady. So let's do some testing. So first up I want to check out the LED operation. So we'll connect a battery. And we need to stick a jack into the input to test it, and as you can see from the reverse side here, the LED is working. You can see it there. Hit the switch, it turns off. Okay, we also need to test it with 9 volts, which I'll organise that right now. So here's a 9 volt jack, and we'll hook the 9 volts up. Oh, it works, I can see it there. So as you can see, the LED is running. Hit the switch, it's out. Okay, let's test the operation of the switch in regards to the signal. So here's the effect bypassed. And here's the effect engaged. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. And I do videos like this all the time of DIY, how-tos, demos, things like that, all revolving around guitar. So if that's your kind of thing, don't hesitate to subscribe. And also, I hope I've brought you closer to being able to modify your own pedal and make it a DIY, because that's really what this video is all about. Anyway, have a good day. I'll catch you later. See ya.